Welcome to the end of the first day of Icicle. I'm happy to see that all of you here have survived the heat for the first day. And so now to close this first exciting day of Icicle, we have this amazing student panel where they're going to be talking about exploring learning and engineering through a student's lens. So I am very excited to hear what they have to say. But before I do turn it over to them, just to make one little announcement to let you know that there is a reception coming up after this. So, please hang around for the reception. It will be in this room. So please stay. And with that, I will turn it over to our moderator. Who's our moderator?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Icicle. We are so excited to share our perspective and hopefully and our stories and what we value and just like what it's like to be a part of this community as a student. I'm going to kind of be moderating this conversation, but also participating in it. We have this panel of wonderful students, and we are so excited to be able to kind of share some of the thoughts and some of the perspectives that we prepared for you all today. So I think we can go to the next slide. How do I change the slides? Do I have a clicker? Okay, awesome, all right. And so I think we can just probably go down the row and I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Eileen. I'm a master's in educational therapy student at CSUN. I also work as an instructor and a learning engineer for Matchmaker, which we all know is on our keychains here. And yeah, I'm super excited to be supporting this panel today.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, my sound is really good through this microphone, $1 million microphone system. Anyway, my name is Mei Mei. You probably cannot see it, but this is me. And then I'm finishing my PhD in human systems engineering with Dr. Scotty Quick right there. And then, so I'm technically still a student. So, yeah.
You finished your dissertation?
Yeah, finished it, but I'm gonna get my degree in August. So. Now I'm still
a
student.
But she finished, she defended her dissertation, so let's give her a round of applause. Woo!
Chill.
Hi, my name is Katarina. I'm starting my 4th year in the PhD program in psychology at ASU. I work with Dr. Danielle McNamara, and my research is mostly in reading comprehension, assessment, and educational technologies.
Hi, my name is Rizwana Islam. I'm a PhD student in the education department at ASU. I'll be starting my 3rd year this fall. And my interest is in educational technologies, especially emerging technologies like generative AI, VR, AR, and how can we integrate them in education and for supporting teachers better. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Arun from University of Pittsburgh. I'm a PhD student working on reading systems, log data mining, and also recommender systems. So yeah, happy to be here on the panel.
Awesome. All right, so that is our amazing panelists here today. And so getting into this, so kind of the narrative of this panel is we're going to start with kind of the past, reflecting on how we got to be sitting here right now. And then from there, talking about our work today and also kind of our hopes for the future and what the community and how our hopes for the future could potentially be supported by such an incredible community. So super excited. All right, so first, beginning of our learning engineering journey. So getting started, we're gonna start with the question, how did you discover learning engineering and what does it mean to you? So let's go this way and I'll go last.
All right, I guess I'll start it. So I heard about this term learning engineering through my mentor, Dr. Scotty Quick, and then I think, oh wow, that's actually pretty convenient because I am in this engineering department, I'm doing learning, and boom, let me check this out. So, and then I go check that out and then read, I think a couple of papers before the wonderful toolkit book come out, like by Chris Didi and Bert Sexberg, like your book of that learning engineering for online education. Too dense, not finished, but finished some, and then got some idea about it, and then got involved in this awesome community, and then now I'm like at this moment, when you ask me what does it mean to me, and over this 2 years of exploration, I would consider myself as a human-centered learning engineering researcher. So I think there's two goals that my research is gonna entail in the future. One is to create a evidence-based, human-centered, data-informed education solution that is sustainable, and then have scalable ability. So scalability, that's a word, okay. And then the second one is trying to uncovering the underlying mechanism of that learning behavior as students engage with such tool. So generated the theory, so we can see what is that different than any other education research methods? Why this one different? I think it's different based on the contextualizability and then the scalability and then the sustainability. That is, incorporate that engineering aspect into this as research methods to such as stakeholder engagement, trade-off analysis, all that awesome engineering methods. So I think that's what stands out as a education research method. That's why I was identifying myself as. How about you?
And as you can tell, I think a theme is very interdisciplinary. We love being able to touch so many different disciplines.
Yeah, so I feel like in some ways I was already kind of developing a learning engineering mindset before I actually heard this term and figured out what learning engineering is. So for one thing, even though I started out doing research early in undergraduate, I was always very much interested in the application side of it, like seeing what learning challenges there were and how we can actually develop solutions. Like I was interested in developing technologies to help older adults slow cognitive aging, and then as soon as I entered graduate school, developing reading games for students. And I also worked as a peer academic advisor for a while in undergraduates, and I realized that there were a lot of similar problems in students that would come to me where they were being given these different links for picking courses and scheduling their classes, but not really any support. And so I was always trying to push to figure out oh, what surveys could we maybe give students, collect some data, figure out what their actual challenges are, and how could we actually have longer-term solutions so that less of these students are coming in feeling frustrated. That being said, it's thanks to my mentor, Danielle McNamara, that I actually heard about the term learning engineering and read the toolkit and started getting more involved. And it's really been a great experience for me, and it's helped me really clarify my thinking about these issues, where really it's not just important to be developing solutions, but to be developing large-scale solutions, solutions that work for a variety of different types of students, and iteratively developing on those solutions so that they get better over time.
Wow. I was just looking for a course. I mean, I had to take a credit course, and initially I was looking for a course, and since I'm interested in educational technology, and I was looking for a course in the engineering department, and when I was searching for the course catalog, I found a course that says learning and engineering together, and that's how I got to the course, And then I contacted Danielle, and I got parts of the Learning Toolkit book, which I was not supposed to share. I read that part of the book, and I thought, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, apparently the word engineering comes with learning. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's how I got into the learning engineering process.
What does it mean to you?
So the first time I heard about learning engineering was from Ken Kedinger when he was talking about that during one of the Landlord Summer School. That he said that it's like applying learning sciences, but in the context of building these tools to support learning, this whole process of iterative updates and so on. But then when the more of it I discovered was when Icicle was advertised through one of our lab mailing lists. That's the Learning Research Development Center. So that's when I was like, okay, I should definitely try to participate in these events. And so I signed up for the mailing lists and so on, and I came to know that I could participate, join these conference committee meetings and some of these SIGs and MIGs. And then I understood that this is a whole separate dimension on itself. People work on research, people work on learning sciences. It's just about coming up with new research questions, like solving those problems, but the whole aspect of like actually implementing it, the tools that are required to kind of integrate this. And in the morning, I was talking to a couple of folks from industry who were also explaining this in greater detail. So that's what I kind of understood as a computer scientist, as an engineer myself, as to like how actually I can contribute to this field. So.
Yeah, and so I guess I can kind of share how I discovered learning engineering. Similarly to Katarina, I feel like I've always been drawn to solving these types of problems before I knew the word learning engineering existed. I started college as an economics major. I didn't really like profit optimization problems, but I did like learning mastery, like maximization problems. And so I was like, okay, I really like this problem space, and I like solving these kinds of problems, and I was solving these problems in like student orgs and other things, and I was like, I feel crazy because I'm obsessed with this problem space, and like, I don't know what this means for me. And then at some point somewhere, I read the word learning engineering, and I was like, what's that? I Googled it, and I was like, wait, this problem space that I've been obsessed with, like, is actually a discipline, and like, I could actually go somewhere with this. And so that's kind of how I got into learning engineering. And I think for what it means to me, the biggest thing is the community and the inspiration that I get from just like being able to talk to all of you. Like, we are all here because we really, really want to improve education systems, from like leaders, researchers, innovators, like all of you all are doing such great work. And so to me, learning engineering is not just like a discipline, but it's a community that really inspires me to push, inspires me to dream bigger, reach further, and just like do my absolute best to drive not only this discipline forward, but just like education and human quality of life overall forward. So like, it's like, I don't know, the community means a lot to me, and I'm really grateful for you all for being here, and just like showing up and attending this panel and listening to us. Like, it's just, you all are awesome human beings. So that's what it means to me. All right, so that's kind of how we all got here. Now, what are we doing while we're here? And so we're gonna start by talking a little bit about principled innovation. It's a kind of framework developed by ASU. You can kind of see the model up here, and there's those 4 components. We're gonna talk a little bit about what aspects of the components resonate most with us and how it guides our decisions. I think the goal of this question is kind of to give up some perspective on what we value, I don't know, like what our generation, our kind of group, like students might value, and how that guides our decision making, and how you might want to communicate with us if you're trying to recruit this awesome group of human beings, or collaborate, etc. in other contexts. All right, so Mei, let's go for it.
I can start it. Just added on a little bit on the PI, which is something like ASU created, I guess, for folks that are not at ASU. So this is more so like, you can ask this question to maybe Punya, maybe tomorrow. He might know more about this, because yeah, it's like a why. Because yeah, it's like the asset that ASU making all kinds of decision and then like taking action, that's just having this ultimate goal to increase humanity. So that's why we're having this as a framework. So for me, I resonate most with inclusivity and then the collaboration. I'll share collaboration side later on. For inclusivity, ties back to what my research interest is in leveraging education technology to increase like human agency. But everybody knows, like, I'm gonna throw that word sometime this meeting, whatever. And then for me, like, one thing that there's so many ways to increase human agency. What do I mean increase human agency? I would say, for me, that one way to exemplify this human agency through education is improve the students' domain general capability, that's transferable skill, either individually or in conjunction to their development of the domain-specific expertise. How to do that? Why are you focusing on that? Because I was thinking about for folks like individual students who are come from underserved the area, or like they don't have, growing up, have like no role model. Me, myself, as a first generation college student, so growing up with like a no role model around you, like or someone knows like how to become a lawyer or something like that, and then no support systems, the formal education should be able to equip them with those kind of skill sets so they can navigate through their own education journey more meaningful. But I feel like that's something that formal education, especially university, are somehow a little bit lacking. So I think the education technology can make up that part. So that's why I was focusing on that, which is to speak about that inclusivity, because those skill set can ensure that education are beneficial to everyone, not just for a certain population. So that's why I was choosing that for you.
Yeah, what resonates the most with me, I think, are truth-seeking and empathy, because for truth-seeking, you really need to understand what the students are actually experiencing, what their concerns are. And the reason I go into empathy is because there's not just one student, there's just such a wide variety, and I feel like a lot of times in research we've been pushed to just really be looking at what is the average and figuring out what works for the average student, but that's really just missing such a broad variety of students, and probably the students who need the help the most because they're not getting it already. And so I just really think it's important to get at the truth and understanding what data even you need to collect, because it's easy to be attuned to what theories you're looking at as a researcher and have like your preferred learning science theory, but then you might not be collecting the right data if that's not actually related to the real concerns that the students are having.
I guess I'd like to start with the question why principled innovation makes a lot of sense in learning engineering. When I was looking at the diagram, I was thinking, why am I talking about this for a learning engineering conference? It resonates most with me because of my experience as a teacher. So I'm from Bangladesh, and I've been a teacher there for almost 10 years. And when I learned about engineering learning or creating a process of learning, the first question that came to me was, how do we pinpoint the actual challenge or the problem for which we need to engineer the learning process? As someone who has been on that part of the world, I am no stranger to mindless adaptation of learning technology and mindless adaptation of learning technique. So that's why this principal innovation things actually, most importantly, I would say empathy, the moral side, the empathy, honesty resonates a lot with me. I always say that teacher truths are not the same thing as the truths of the developers and the researchers. Teacher truths are different. When you are sitting in front of 50, 60 students in a low-tech classroom, no matter how many high-tech assessment technologies you have, no matter how many technologies they have given you, it doesn't actually matter that much. You end up doing your best performance in front of a peer during an observation or in front of a supervisor. But the rest 364 days of the year, you are trying to struggle in that same class. And at the end of the class, you are just getting out of the class and you're like, oh yeah, I'm out of it. So I feel learning engineering, it's great that it brings together two fields. I mean, learning and engineering, of course, they need to come together. And as a teacher, as someone who has been a teacher for a long time, I feel like I have been a learning engineer for a long time. I mean, I have been doing this grouping, pairing, taking decisions about student assessment for a long time without even knowing that I was doing that. So that's why I feel pinpointing the challenge, pinpointing where we actually need learning engineering. We can all run after the logo and the keyword and all the other things. But maybe the conversation should start with where we actually need it and how do we reach that particular population or that particular situation in not just in an innovative way, but also in a way that makes the most sense. And I feel right now, when we are in an era where we are going to have a non-human artificial partner with us for the rest of our life, I'm guessing, it makes a lot of sense.
So I'm going to focus on a very specific aspect, which is reflections. I think that this is from my own experience with working with teachers, as in I was not much of a teacher, I was mostly teaching assistant. But from what I've seen is that whenever my teachers actually ask me about what I learned over the semester, for example, or what are the goals or like things that I achieved, it always resonated with me well because I thought more deeply about like the things that I should have learned or things that I should have spent more time on rather than the things that I probably did not spend sufficient time on and so on like that. So I think when the teachers induce this process of reflection, it automatically creates a sense of active learning among the students. They kind of spend time trying to figure out that agency that comes into play. So, and also it helps the students focus on their strengths and weaknesses, kind of exhibit that when they actually work with the teacher and so on. So that's one specific aspect that actually resonates the most with me from the Principled Innovation Framework. And that actually also helps with learning engineering systems, when building learning engineering systems too, where like some of these implementations actually could have a feature for recording student progress, but also recording students' own like challenges or things that they face, which could inform the teacher as to what could be changed, for example, and it kind of goes in this two-way setup rather than just like one way where the teacher actually keeps giving learning material, but the student actually does not catch up with that. So, yeah.
And for me personally, the aspect of principled innovation that resonates most, also, if you go on the website, when I think you said human agency, another word that's associated with the principled innovation framework is human flourishing, which is also one of my favorite concepts as a whole, because I feel like everyone should flourish in life. But the aspect of principled innovation that resonates most with me is the civic values, especially with kind of riffing off of Mei, inclusion. As you guys, as I said earlier, I'm a master's student in educational therapy. For all of you guys who don't know, educational therapy is a specific kind of, it's a tailored approach to teaching specifically for students with learning disabilities, learning differences, or learning challenges. And so I'm hoping to eventually become a practitioner. Dream is to become a board certified educational therapist. That's a very later problem after I graduate from my degree. But that's something that I really care about. And how this relates back to the civic, how it guides my learning engineering decisions is because I am very cognizant of the fact that a lot of students who might have learning differences, learning challenges, or learning disabilities might not be in the room where a lot of these decisions are being made. So it's kind of like when you're in these rooms and you're making these design decisions, you're designing experiments, you're designing this technology, it's like, okay, there's all these perspectives in the room, but who is most likely not to be here? And a lot of that is going to be students, especially moderate to severe disabilities. The probability of them being in the room is much, it's just statistically lower. And so that's something that I care about a lot and I think about a lot and I'm very obsessed with, and I feel, my North Star is just how can we make sure every single perspective is in the room across all kinds of abilities? And that's why, that's how it guides my learning engineering decisions, and that is one of my, what I value the most in the Principled Innovation Framework. All right, so that's a little bit about our values and how we think about some of these problems. Oh no, I went too far. Okay. All right, okay, next question, next challenge. Next question, all right, so as learning engineers, and practicing learning engineering, what challenges do you face when using the learning engineering process, and what support do you need to get involved more effectively? And I think this is both kind of a problem, we're expressing kind of our perspective, but also a bit of a call to action, because if these are problems that we're facing as students, then it's probably more than just us, and then as a community, we could potentially develop large-scale solutions to some of these challenges. And so this is our next discussion question.
So this question is gonna propose some suggestion to the, so be prepared. So suggestion for a friend, okay? So,
Asking for a friend.
yeah, so this is gonna be, for me, is if you still remember, I talk about two things that resonate the most is collaboration and inclusivity. To sort of talk about my research interest in guided by the inclusivity. And then the collaboration, that is one thing I found like in the awesome learning engineering community that we are sort of like needed, especially student collaboration. And then the challenges I found is like, we already have a lot of special interest group to do those things, like initiated a collaboration on the, for student too. We have a graduate student, SIG, Lauren right there, just leading that awesome group. So, but I found it's easy to initiate a study, but follow through that study is having some kind of difficulty. But what I observe from my own personal experience, there's two reasons that is most challenging. One is a lack of support. Like if we encounter some kind of a problem, who are we talking to? Like we're not belong to nobody. Like it's like we can reach out to everybody, but we also can reach out to sort of nobody because nobody has like a duty like to give us stuff. So it was like, who are we supposed to reach out? So that's a lack of like a support in the way that is specifically for the feedbacks, like for our project. Second of all, like I found out is like the lack of a commitment. Like the project's it's easy to initiate it, execute it, but due to the like life or school like responsibilities, some members of the team just like have a different priority, and the thing is not followed through. That's the thing. But I think the second reason, lack of a community, is boiled down to this motivation to carry out this project. So suggestion, I guess, I have two. So for the lack of support, I think the community, we can have some kind of like a mentorship program, having senior experienced learning engineering practitioner or researchers like to volunteer to serve as some kind of a mentor to help students, to give them feedbacks if they need it. And then second of all, we have some kind of like a open learning engineering open challenge for like students to like give them the challenge, have them to participate, like a student version of that tools competition. We don't require much money, to be fair. We're students, just a tiny bit, okay? As an incentive, we will dive right in. Or some kind of free food, some kind of like that stuff.
You can always get us with food.
Yeah, we will be participant in that. Just some kind of external motivation, we will participate in that challenge. And then also during that stuff, you will give us a platform to like showcase the work at the end. So that's sort of like the accountability, like, oh, hey, we're not doing this for nothing. We're doing this for the challenge. So some initiative like that, I think is pretty awesome to have for students.
And I think like with the riffing off of that, like with the challenge, it's like you get recognition. It's like, okay, it's like you participate in the like student version of the tools competition, and now it's also something that you can kind of build your confidence in the community and just be like, look, like I participated in the student version of the tools competition and we did really well and I built something really awesome. And I think, yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
I do want to briefly add on to that Mei and I did this, like, I think you were in it too, did this like AI for Education hackathon, and we had like a fantastic time. Would love more stuff like that. But really, I mean, my challenges are kind of similar to Mei's in that I feel like I get very ambitious in my study ideas, and I have like these broad-ranging ideas, but I don't really know how to accomplish them always. I don't really know to what extent I should develop certain skills versus reaching out to people who are more experienced to help me and getting different perspectives. Like it's just really challenging because a lot of these learning engineering type problems really require a broad, diverse team.
Like an entire team.
Yeah. Like I want to give like an example, like Lillian and I are working on this great knowledge tracing project, and Lillian is so talented and amazing, but we've both been talking about how like we could really use someone who's like an experienced like knowledge tracing person who really has a lot more background in that type of thing than we do. Consider this an open call. If you have that experience, by the way, we'd be interested.
Call for mentorship.
But yeah, and also just for skill development and figuring out who's the best person to help you develop that skill and actually accomplish your different goals.
As a novice in the field, the biggest challenge for me is learning about learning engineering. So I feel like the learning part is still, this is something that still needs to be defined. So I got to learn about this course when I became a PhD student. I don't know if there is any undergrad version of this course. I don't know what is the actual starting point for this course. Am I supposed to start in school? Because in school, students, they get involved in, identifying problem and coming up with ideas. They do small project-based learning. So shall I compare this to a project-based learning? No, I'm not getting Shakespearean here. I'm just trying to compare. And another challenge that I can think of is what I faced when I was doing this assignment for this course is putting on different hats of different people. It's easy to say that when we're doing learning engineering, you have to work with a team. But how to behave in that team, how to understand that team, that is something that I struggled with a lot, because at the end of the day, based on my background as an edtech researcher and a teacher, my thinking automatically goes to that space. So when we are working as a team for learning engineering, how do we think? Is it about sharing our mental model? Is it about a group dynamic? Is it about a teamwork dynamic? How am I supposed to behave in that team? How much am I supposed to understand my team members from different fields? Because I'm not from their field. There is no way I'll understand their knowledge base. But how much do I need to understand them? Since we are claiming, or not just claiming actually, we're doing research and using learning engineering in high-risk fields like the defense and places. So I guess this is a question as a student I have, that how am I supposed to behave in that team?
I would first like to address Katrina's question about knowledge tracing. We can talk about that further because I have some experience with that too. So I'm responding to your open call. But back to the question is that in terms of challenges, one thing that I've always faced is that I'm trying to actually still map out the fields that are there. So one of the things that I'm more clearly sensing is this idea of learning sciences, where like people actually work on data-driven approaches, but that's mostly because there is some theory that they want to verify, or if there's that theory that they want to apply. So that's the context from which I'm coming from when I'm approaching learning engineering. But then when I attended, actually again, going back to what Mei was saying, this amazing student segment by Lauren and Janet is a group where I see that there's this whole community which works on actually implementing the tools directly. And I mean, as they're doing it, the theory actually is there in that embedded. And so that's something that I have not actually figured out myself. Our lab works on developing these tools. We have all these systems, years of tools that have been built for different use cases, mostly educational. But it's always after the fact that we realize, okay, this could be so self-regulated learning. This could be some other context of like learning theory, like the ICAP framework and so on. But it's after the fact, so it should be before we build the tool itself. So that's one of the things that I struggled with in this context. And the other thing that I also saw was the specific concept of conjecture mapping, which was a really amazing, simple idea, but then applied quite well by, I think, Anahit was one of the presentations that I have that happened in the students' meetings, which showed like, okay, you can actually start with this whole process of mapping out how the outcomes should come, and then how you actually achieve them. So that's something I'm still kind of striving to do with my research too, a little bit. So.
One of the challenges I see, and it's kind of building off of a lot of this dialogue that has already kind of been happened here, is like Learning engineering is fundamentally multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary things fundamentally require teams. And then the question becomes, so as a learning engineer, which discipline do I learn? Do I learn all of them? None of them, everything, specialize in one. But then if I specialize in one, then I can't do everything that's needed to be done to execute the process. But then if I learn one, but if I learn everything, then I might not know enough to do anything well. And I think that's one of the challenges that I grapple with a lot, is because I love everything, but then that also comes with, like, you can't be everything to everyone. So then it's like there's this weird dichotomy, and I think that goes back to like how, given how kind of like young this space is, and like Icicle's first time was like 2017, right? It's like there's no pipelines, or like, for example, like within learning engineering, like there's no like, oh, like more technical, like this is a subspace, that this is like a type of learning engineering, and then you can kind of pick a pathway and then go that direction, and then you'll end up at a specific location on a team. It's like it's just kind of like this amorphous blob of like, we love everything, but we also, like, what does that mean for our learning process? I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I struggle with. And I also wanted to riff off like the like no entry point thing. It's like, when you said like there's no, like if you're an undergrad and you want to get into learning engineering, the odds of your school having an undergraduate class or minor or major of any form of learning engineering, like, it's very low. And then if it's low, then how do you build a team to practice learning engineering? And it's like kind of like it's like chicken and egg. It's like, if you don't have learning engineering class, then you can't build a team, but you can't build a team if you don't have a learning engineering class. And I think it's like, okay, so I guess part of it is also like getting more people into this space, or like creating a critical mass of students, so that like enough, like if there's enough students, then we can build more of these teams. Like there's like a handful of us around here, and then, yeah, like how do we go forward with that? And I don't have an answer, but I think these are kind of questions to ponder about. So those are some challenges, and thank you all for listening to talk about the challenges that we're facing. And now we want to take a look forward. So we've talked a little bit about how we got into this space, what we're kind of experiencing in the space, what we value, what are some things that, like some challenges, and now let's look towards the future. So we're going to talk a little bit about our goals. So next question, what do you hope to achieve next in your journey with learning engineering?
So of course, I'm like finishing the PhD, thinking about next steps, next phase of the research. I sort of talk about that. I'm obsessing with that concept of human agency, and then talk about how my passion of leveraging education technology to improve that a domain specific, a domain general transferable skill and knowledge. Now I'm like crafting this idea, like building a tool like that is like sort of like AI based, which that words through, put it that two words, like that words out, and everybody's again. No, it's like, yeah, there's something about using that stuff to helping achieve one goal, that because I was thinking about reflecting on higher education, why there's like not a lot of student collaboration happening in the formal education setting, because you require a lot for faculty to be able to be an expertise in certain way, and then also be able to create that interdisciplinary group project that is meaningful to a lot of domain. That's a lot work for a faculty, okay? And then, so with the help of the AI larger language model, there is a way to automating that process of creating those interdisciplinary group tasks by understanding each domain, decompose that, and then recombine those tasks in a meaningful way. And then that's those automating creation of the interdisciplinary group test is achievable through the technology that we're having now. And then by also creating that, you can make it integrated to the Canvas, so that the teachers can post their regular courses as normal on the Canvas, and then the tool that if existed can help to automating that creation process, and then maybe helping facilitating that collaboration process by provide some kind of feedbacks that is like automated feedback, and then later on helping break down that interaction of the students, collaboration process, and then teachers can be easy to evaluate their project, because at the end of the day, the teacher has to give a summative assessment of the students. either grades or whatever, but it has to be happen in that way because that's just a higher education, the standardized of the higher education. So those tools, this kind of tools can helping in terms of facilitating that whole interdisciplinary student collaboration. So my next steps is like trying to think about how to creating those tools and then using, obviously, say it with me, learning engineering process. Thank you, you guys, for cooperation. That's it.
All right, so I've still got another couple years to graduate, so I'm like a little bit behind Mei here, but I kind of have both the skill goals and the research goals, where in terms of skills, I'm looking to actually further develop my collaboration skills, which I think is really important in learning engineering, and I'm still developing, but also more like broader skills like data analysis and research skills and things like that. In terms of my research goals, I kind of have similar interests also. I'm very interested in using intelligent tutoring systems to help support students' learning, and I really think that right now is a really critical period because, for one thing, we're starting to have much larger data sets than we've ever had accessible, particularly through the Learning at Scale grant that ASU recently got. For another thing, we have increasingly developed machine learning models that can actually track students' learning and their knowledge acquisition. And then finally, we have this new generative AI piece where I think we could actually be adapting questions to the student's interests, to the student's skill levels, and we can even be automatically scoring open-ended responses, which we've been able to do somewhat up till now, but I think that we can really do even a lot better now. And so I'm really just interested in pushing forward in this space and seeing how I can use learning engineering to develop these types of tools into the future.
I want a good job, so that's. I want
Oh,
to
that
start with
too, that too.
So I mean,
Hire her.
I feel like being interested in learning engineering has opened a new way for me to think about EdTech research in both academic and industrial level. So first I want like a job with good money, and after
to
that's
pay our
definitely
bills.
a goal. And other than that, I think it's an exciting time to be a part of learning engineering. Yes, I agree with what they're saying about having generative AI, and I also see an interesting approach for that one because for a long time, educational research has been blamed for not being scalable. A teacher does something very amazing. The next moment we hear that, oh yeah, it worked there, but it's not gonna work in that other class. I mean, come on, that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, we can talk about it. So we have had this conversation for a long time. And when it comes to data visualization, working on the data, analyzing it, us teachers didn't have that much time, energy, or the right tool to do that. So I feel this is the perfect time to teach teachers about data literacy. Yeah, one more thing is to teach teachers, right? But still, I feel like this is the right time to talk about data literacy. This is the right time to talk about how educational research can be really easily scalable. Yes, we can track a lot of data. We can keep a lot of data right now. What do we do with all this data? How do we bring in stakeholders from education, people who are actually in the classroom? Either I'm playing the role of a student or I'm playing the role of a teacher, but I'm an important stakeholder. I want to be a part of the conversation when learning engineering is happening. I want to be a part of the conversation when we talk about the future of learning engineering. I want to be part of that table where the EdTech developers are sitting, where the people from industry are sitting, and they're deciding my future, our teachers' future, our students' future with that one new tool, focusing on that solution-based approach or deficit-based approach. I feel like that's the place where I need to be, and that's the place where I want to be when I complete my PhD and look into academia and industry with the eyes of a learning engineer.
So I think most of my ideas have been covered by the other panelists, but one thing I want to add is collaborative aspects of this whole process. I think that there are many things that I do that can be considered learning engineering. There are many things that could be improved to be something like learning engineering. But all of this can only happen if I actually work with some other researchers or practitioners working from that angle. Like they see the need, then we have the solution for that, or they see that what I have could be improved in a certain way so that it addresses the whole process that's involved here. So I think collaboration is one thing that's key here. It's a very interdisciplinary field. It's not just one specific group of people working on the same topic. And it's not that this is the only set of skills that you would require to become a learning engineer. It's like you work with different groups of people, and then the whole process could be considered as learning engineering. So that's where I'm thinking to orient myself towards as I kind of proceed towards my graduation, but yeah.
So something I really, really care about is the student to practice pipeline within learning engineering. I think I've already mentioned this in like every other answer that I've had, and I think it's already been mentioned here so many times, but there is no explicit pipeline that exists to find out about it to being like, for example, if you want to be a software engineer, you can go to take a computer science class. The pipeline is you do leak code problems and you do technical interviews and then you practice and then you can get a job. Like it's like A, B, C, D, E. And like that doesn't exist in learning engineering yet. And something I really care about, and I want to like, I don't know if it's an achievement or it's more so just like a contribution. Like I really want to help bring that kind of career student to practice like pathway to life in like the coming years. So I think that's something that I really hope, like learning engineering for learning engineeringception. I feel like that's coming up a lot. It's kind of funny and it kind of makes it a little bit fun. And so that's something that I really hope to contribute to and achieve. And yeah, on like a just more personal note, I'm hoping to get more involved in research. I've done a lot of like practice related work, but I think that there needs to be a balance between research and practice because like for example, like teaching in the classroom actually it's so important for like the research side, but also research is so important for the teaching side. And I feel like in the last couple years, most of my work has been practice. And I feel like in the coming years, I hope I can probably contribute to a high impact paper and maybe publish my first paper. So that's something that I really hope to achieve because I feel like I need to balance the practice with more research skills. So yeah, that's my goals, that's our goals. Those are our dreams and aspirations. Please support us. Okay, all right, final question. I think we talked a little bit about this already. I think we already, future challenge. Okay, future challenges.
It's like, sorry, I was like, when we put out the question, we just have a bunch of challenges that we wanted you to solve it for us. So it's like, as a student, we just threw in that student token, like, hey, this is our, this is our problem. This one is more so like when we think about because we have the 3 phases for this organized structure, this talk, this panel, like past, present, and future. So now we landed on a future. So we were trying to for better prepare us for workplace, like work as a learning engineering related professionals or researchers. What are the challenges that we are having right now to prevent us to better serve that position in the future? So that's
what are blockers
and then
to getting to our end state.
Yeah, and then how you guys can help us, okay?
Help us, we're students.
Yeah, so since I already explained this, I'll get started. As you know, I'm starting to looking for jobs, and then by looking for the jobs, I kind of getting to know a little bit about the hiring practice that is so-called our community or other people trying to use this, get into this learning engineering related field. For example, I found out either people are not using this learning engineering in their job title, or if they use it, they narrowly focus on some kind of data related type of professionals. Instead of hiring
learning related jobs, they actually hiring data scientists or data analytics. So I was if you equate that learning engineering related jobs with data specific or like technical specific jobs, it's sort of like getting, it's not aligned with what this new paradigm shift that learning engineering is trying to promote, which is have a lot of nuance into it. So I was thinking about, for example, we always said like learning engineering is a team sport, but team sport, what do we mean by team sport? The teamwork is different than the team task work. The team task work is like you can hire people with specific skill and then assign the role in the team to do a team project. But the teamwork, I think that's what learning engineering is focused. It's more than that. It's the attitude, like behavior, like cognition within the team is maybe largely independent from that task in the team. So having a shared understanding, have a shared value of the project that you're trying to do, especially when we're doing learning things related. It's more like messy and nuanced. So I was thinking for industry or whatever academia, if you're hiring people to do the learning engineering job, I hope you ask yourself, what does the learning engineering mean to you? And then why are you hiring learning engineering related job instead of like a well-established professionals like other technical? Yeah, those jobs, not say they're not good, but why are you hiring learning engineering? What a value you value them, this candidate or this people who are taking on this hat, like are trying to provide it to your team or to your team project. So answering those questions, I think, is very important to you to see what you wanted to out of this learning engineering related job. And then by having that updated hiring practice, maybe those are gonna inform the education program that who provided this type of training for future learning engineering students, and then sort of like align them, make this alignment is more like clear, like you said, like has this pathway, like pipeline more clear. So I think that's one way I hope for future learning engineering folks that can have this kind of clear path.
So it's kind of like working backwards,
Yeah.
right? Like, so you have your job description, this job description exists, and then from that, educational institutions will be able to better prepare students for that job description.
It's like more like mutual informed and having student in the loop.
Iterative.
Yeah, like just trying to, make those things align with each other. Yeah, that's it.
I guess one thing to add here would be, like, if I think about the broader LE community or workforce, I'm going to quote someone I just talked to during one of the SIG and MIG meetings, and the conversation that came up was the word engineering is kind of a restrictive term. When we hear the word engineer, we have certain expectation from that person. We want that person to have that technical expertise. We want that person to have that scientific knowledge. So when you hear the term learning engineer, what do you expect? As an employer, what are you supposed to expect? As a potential employee, what am I supposed to bring to the table? I guess that sort of clarification and getting proper recognition as a learning engineer without having the without having the engineering knowledge in the traditional sense, that's very important. And that recognition can only come when this community is broader, when there are more recognition, when there are more exposure to certain concepts. The second point would be support. The one thing that could be a bit scary about learning engineering is the teamwork. It sounds really good. You get to put together a wonderful team of different people from different fields. But if you look at us, we are students. And that makes us think, that makes me think, can I put together a field like that? So at ASU, if we get support where we can bring a research idea or a problem and we have access to a team or ideas about how to get that team together as student, I would say that would help a lot. So yeah, these are the two things I want to add, like support and exposure.
So I would go with the same idea that both the panelists were mentioning, Rizwana and Eileen and Mei. So the idea of labels actually makes it difficult. So like, for example, most places I might be considered as a computer scientist before as a learning scientist or learning engineer, for example. So it's because there is some aspects to this which is very unique. It is like, if you are a practitioner, you would know more about how to teach better, or you would know how to help students who struggle with things. Even if I had like 10 papers on which I show each time I build this tool that can help with this intervention, it uses this specific learning theory, and I actually developed with all this whole authentic educational psychology-based principles, people would still consider me as a person who implements it, not as a person who actually understands or like develops these theories. So as a mixed methods researcher, that's something I kind of have to figure out how to actually present my work in a certain way where it looks appealing to a larger group of people, not just a specific domain. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is also, I'm not the only one doing this. There are several people with spectrum of skills. So each of them actually would put themselves forward in certain way. And sometimes that's an opportunity. Sometimes it's something that I could have also done, or sometimes it's something else. So those are some things I keep thinking about like presenting myself with different, like in my portfolio in a way where it looks different in different ways. And then, yeah, so those are some things that I've mostly thought about. But yeah, I think in general, this is something everyone struggles with. And off late, with the use of LLMs, it's not just about pushing through applying theories and developing these edtech tools. It's about also how you are using the latest and greatest tools, for example. So.
See, this conversation is kind of interesting to me because I've always thought of learning engineering more as like in terms of the team and less as any specific person, because ultimately I think we are feeling sort of this pressure as learning engineering people to try and figure out how to do all the different roles. But ultimately I think that we do need to just be able to collaborate and have these teams so that we don't feel that kind of pressure, so that I can be a researcher working with data scientists, working with computer scientists, working with teachers. But I do think that we need to figure out as students and as a community what niches we want to have and what skills we need to develop and what different pathways we can have as students within the community, so that there's really more clarity on what skills we should be developing and what specific jobs we should be looking for, and then more for workplaces to be advertising that they're doing learning engineering work rather than specifically looking for learning engineers. But I know that's kind of like an open question.
And I think another thing is I've looked up learning engineer so many times, and what always comes up is machine learning engineer, which like is really hard, because then I'm like, okay, this technically, like even if you do the quote search, like a direct search, it's gonna say, it's still gonna come up with machine learning engineer, and then you end up in like, okay, but this is not what I meant. And so I think, I'm not sure if there's like a job board or some sort of infrastructure where there's jobs that, there's a job, okay, I'm just like requesting something. I would like a job board that understands this nuance and is able to be like, okay, so you want to work on a learning engineering team and you have this specific like domain expertise and that would blend into the team in this way. Like something like that would be so helpful in just like creating a pipeline, because it's like it's job boards are so hard to navigate because you end up searching for instructional design and then curriculum developer and then like the search terms are so hard. Like you can't search learning engineer. Like it just doesn't work. And if you search learning scientist, that doesn't capture learning engineering. So it's like some sort of infrastructure would be fabulous, I think, for us and for all future students as well. So those are. Yeah, all right, so that is what it's like to be a student. Thank you all for listening to our perspective, for hearing our stories, for listening to us share about our problems and our lived experiences. We truly value your empathy and just listening and just planting those seeds to begin discussing these questions at large, because it's gonna be a team effort because we're a learning engineering community and this is a hard problem. And I think if we all collectively work together, we're going to be able to solve it. And 10 years from now, 2034 Icicle, the student panel will be a very different set of problems, which I think will be good because I think hopefully we'll get a handle on the problems that we've brought up today. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
I wanted to give extra thanks to May just for submitting and organizing this whole thing. She really did a lot of work.
For sure. Let's give double round of applause for May for leading this entire endeavor. It was like the day before the submission. She was like, I have a vision. I'm going to do it. And then she just did it. And now we're here. And now we're able to have this fantastic conversation. So May is awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And then we were willing to help with all those like suggestions that we proposed.
Yeah, we're willing to
Yeah,
be learning
everything,
engineers for
like,
those
all of
problems
the-
too.
yeah,
So
we
like,
will help with that.
hit us up.
Oh my gosh. I get depressed sometimes thinking about the future, given everything that's happening. But you know, after this, I'm all about it. This is great. I'm so excited. And I think Herodotus and Ponce de Leon got it wrong. They were looking for the fountain of youth. And I think the best part there is hanging out with youth. So it's great. As Eileen mentioned, she works with my team and is a delight to work with. And I highly recommend that you draw on these students, not just them, but all of them that are here, and draw on their expertise and work with them. So thank you again. I do want to ask, in the time that we have, actually, there's some things that will be happening, and I'll announce that. But did anybody learn or hear something profound today that stuck out in your mind that you want to share? Anything that was particularly interesting? Jim? Thanks, Jim. Oh, just that use the Discord channel. There's an Icicle Discord channel where people can post positions. I know that's where my organization found somebody, and highly recommend if you have a position that's open or looking for somebody to help, that's a great place to reach this student group. Any profound thoughts, things that you learned? Yes?
Whatever is being done in academy, it doesn't translate to the actual business. And this is a connection,
Yeah.
right? So for me, this is the needed plug in that we need between academic work and industry work. When you work in a business, they say, the first thing they say is, don't come with that terms, change that is too academic. We don't need that. Get rid of that. But this is a special training for people that can navigate between two words. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And Jody, do we have a bag for, we have a little gift for contributing. Thank you. Oh, Jody's coming over here. I saw a hand in the back. I can't see who it is.
Oh, this is me, Arun. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, one other thing that I heard today was from Vipin Verma and Scott Craig, which was like the idea of using information theory and applying that for learning dynamics. that's something very profound to me because information theory is very deeply embedded in like digital system processing and like computer science engineering, like that kind of stuff. And applying that to something that's very like somewhat abstract, but also like tangible thing as learning sciences is something that's very profound to me. Like using two different domains, theories from there, and then kind of bringing something really useful for a practical purpose. That's something that's very profound.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, Arun. And I think you already have a bag, but yeah, there we go. We gave bags out to everybody who was active SIG and MIG members, but go ahead, Anne.
This is something Catherine mentioned in the panel this afternoon about the new focus of the grants, that they're thinking of beginning with scale and impact from the start, like not thinking about that at the end of whatever project that you're doing. What happens if you start with scale and impact? And I'd love to see that added to our learning engineering process. That I'd never considered that before, you know, and that's like, this is just a big mind shift for me that now I'm going to start looking at scale and impact from the beginning of everything I do.
Yeah, and it's part of engineering, is solving the problem. So, thanks, Anne. Any other profound insights? Yes?
Yeah, so adding to what Arun said, we are working on applying the concept of information theory and complex systems theory to team dynamics to measure the team performance, specifically borrowing the concept of entropy. But again, in the domain of learning science, I saw Jenna using it in her presentation, right after our presentation, like she's applying the concept of complex systems to the learning dynamics, and I think I was really, it was really good to see those kind of work happening over here. And another thing that stuck with me is that, it's a small conference, but everyone is really connecting to everyone, which I really felt good about. This is my first conference where I have interacted with more people than I have before. So this is also another really good thing that stuck with me today. So probably I'll be coming to Icicle every year.
We're holding you to that. That's wonderful. Other comments, insights? Okay, right here.
Yeah, I'm Brian Kirk with 19th Air Force, so I'm more the industry side of this. Chief Technology Officer, so the learning engineering side of it. If I were to be going after to answer some of the students' questions, you know, hey, I'm a learning engineer, I can't find a job that says learning engineer. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is that program management piece, the person who can bring that concept and that project to, you know, completion. The engineering side is somebody who designs, builds, and maintains that concept. So those are the kind of people that we're actually looking for. The learning engineer is a title that's nice to have, but when you can demonstrate that, yes, I can take this learning project and I can take it from beginning to end and have that holistic concept, because the example given at the very beginning of the conference, which is we're an orchestra, it's a whole lot of people all playing. If you can say, hey, I might not be the entire orchestra, but I can be the conductor for your orchestra, that's going to be a great selling point.
Wonderful, thanks.
Thank you.
We'll take one more because we're running out of time. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say that I really appreciated the keynote this morning on complexity, because I think that is complexity is something I thought a lot about, but I'll just leave it at, oh, that's so complex. And so I think I just appreciated having some vocabulary around those things and being able to like think about how would I model complexity, and that other people have tried to do it before. So it just gave me a kind of a new design language to think through as I've gone about, you know, through the rest of the day and other challenges that I face. So I just wanted to say
Right.
appreciation to Brant for that.
Thanks for sharing that. We'll do this probably again tomorrow. And so think about that. It's always good to reflect on the day and see sort of what you took away. Regarding tomorrow, before breakfast, we'll have again a encore performance of Jim's Intro to Learning Engineering. If you missed that, tickets are still available just by showing up. And that starts at 8 o'clock. At the same time, not to be competitive, Avron and I are going to be having a session that we're calling Sense Making, which is not about generating cash. It's sense making around all the things that we're discussing here. So if you want to get together with a group of people at 8 tomorrow morning and discuss some of these topics, Avron and I will be there to help facilitate that. Tonight we have a reception. The reception is being held right in here. So you can hang out, you can go back to your room and then come back down again, but we're going to meet here. Heads up, tomorrow there is no reception or other events scheduled, and hopefully that's a chance for you to get together with your new colleagues. And there are lots of places to go eat and have fun. So hopefully you'll make some of those plans here in the next 24 hours and find your group. I think that's it. Tomorrow we have, don't miss, Punya Mishra is going to be speaking at 9 o'clock, and you don't want to miss that. I think that's all we have. So thank you, everybody. It's great to see you all here. Thanks.